Hey guys, Greg from Motorsports Innovations today doing a video on live telemetry. Live telemetry is when you hook your laptop up to the data logger and get to see your sensors, temperatures going up and down, fuel pressure going up and down, as it's happening when the car is running or maybe not running, depending on what you need to diagnose in the car. It's a great tool. You can even do a telemetry when the motor's not in the car in order to diagnose certain things. So in order to hook up to the data logger, you need to have your serial connection cable. And in the case of a Sportsman and a V300 SD, that's a two-part cable. So that's your USB converter, and then the serial cable that actually plugs into the data logger that has the male stereo connector. In the case of the IQ3 drag dash, it's a single cable, USB on one end and micro USB on the other, that plugs directly into the back of the dash. So I'm going to stop this camera and switch over to laptop mode and show you how to set everything up and actually do the telemetry and what the results are. Okay, I'm set up my laptop now in order to do the rest of the telemetry video. So I'll go into Data Link, and I will first load the configuration for my own personal V300 SD. It has a lot of sensors in it, and that will become an issue you'll see in a second. So the first thing you have to do is right-click on whatever logger you have. So if you have a Sportsman, it'll be a Sportsman in this channel box. It'll be an IQ3 drag dash or whatever it might be. In the case of the V300 SD, as in all of them, we'll right click and this box appears. We'll move down to the telemetry section. Notice here it says real-time telemetry setup. And we're going to put the sensors that we want to monitor over from this left-hand side into the right-hand side. And the way we do that is simply by left clicking on this all equal right arrow button. However, in the case of the V300 SD with a lot of sensors, more than 40, we will get this error. So you can't just copy them all over, you have to do them one at a time. The way you do it one at a time would be to pick one, say this is right rear shock position, and move it over one at a time, and then move right rear tire temperature over and move that over in order to get the channels that you want into telemetry and stay under the 40. And then you would click on send configuration. We're not going to do that because I'm not actually hooked up to my V300 right now, and I'll show you why in a second. So I'm going to cancel out of this. Get rid of this configuration, and we're going to do the demonstration with a Sportsman configuration. So I'm going to say open car configuration. Yes, I've got a zillion of them in here. There's Sportsman. Whoops, there is Sportsman. That's the default configuration. I'm going to do a read VNet to pick up the sensors for this test, which you wouldn't normally have to do, but it's maybe still a good procedure. So it's absolutely going to pick up the sensors that are in the car right now. So you can see there's 14 sensors in this configuration. We say OK. I'm going to say no to this for right now. So this is the configuration that we're testing with. So it has two VNet sensors, the carburetor pressure and water temperature. So this might be what your configuration looks like if you would simply go to File and Open Car Configuration and pick up Sportsman. Has these two. So if I go to the Sportsman and right click, now I'm in that same telemetry setup screen. Since it's a Sportsman, I can say all, and I don't get that error because I've got much less than 40 sensors, and most of you are going to be in that situation. Just wanted to point out that one error for the limited number of guys with a small system. So once we get all the sensors over there to the right, we click on send configuration. at Programs, we say OK to that. Then OK to the large box that we were in. Then to actually start the telemetry, we go over here to the radar dish, click on that. They ask you if you want to save the changes, which we did once, but we'll say yes again for that. Oh, this is a message about default configuration. Many of you will choose the top option to make it be your default configuration. I'm going to say no and make it not my default. That's going to affect the telemetry one way or the other. Then it says, would you like to start telemetry at this time? Yes, I do. Waits for everything has to handshake and get connected. Then it starts running. One of the ways to see that it's running is see this video frame is clicking, tenths of a second. So I like to activate volts, which is only 10 volts on my my test system here. That's not good, my bench system. And I'm going to activate carburetor pressure and water temperature. So again, in the uses of what you might be testing on your car, fuel pressure might be common, O2s. There's a lot of possibilities in what you might be testing. But as I'm talking here, I've grabbed with my fingers on my test bench the water temperature sensor, and you see how it's gone up from 75 or whatever it started at to 82. And that's how an example of what you would be looking at. So you're just glancing at the numbers here. The lines, the colored lines down the bottom aren't really that important. I'm going to hook up the fuel pressure sensor. I don't actually have an electric fuel pump. I've got it plumbed to my air compressor. And I'm showing 2.9 pounds of fuel pressure. Turn up my air compressor a little bit, and I'm getting the 8, 9, maybe it'll go to 10 pounds. See the green line moving up. I'll disconnect that, and fuel pressure drops immediately. So that's how you would do a telemetry to test some of your sensors, vital engine functions, what a drive shaft, what might not be working right. Any of those things you can do in real time and see the real sensor data. In order to stop it, you hit the red telemetry stop. It's called stop data acquisition there. So we'll click on that and it'll stop. And it's actually kind of like a graph file. So if you would download a data log, you might use these red arrows to navigate back and forth. So we can go back in time and say, well, wait a minute, what was that high fuel pressure I had during my test? Oh, there it is. So it's just like a data log. There's the high fuel pressure. Click there. Yeah, it was 9 point something. And before, in our fictitious test here, it was 2.85. So you have both a graph to go over and reevaluate what you did in your test and look at it real time. Maybe you have a buddy helping you, turn this on, turn that off, jack shock sensors up and down to figure out what's going on there. So it's a great tool for you to diagnose things in a car. And frequently, sometimes you may call me for some help with your Racepak. And I'll be saying, well, let's do a telemetry and we'll do XYZ in order for Greg to be able to understand what might be happening with your Racepak system. So that's telemetry in a nutshell. If you have questions about it, give me an email, Facebook message it, or call me at 609-265-2110. Thanks.